Hi, I'm Rep Street, and today we're going to talk about some of my 2024 legislative priorities. So some of the key issues I'd like to address this session are housing and homelessness, our climate crisis, and jobs and economic stability. This last session we did a bunch around the market side of housing, so we made it easier to build homes with missing middle housing, but we didn't do enough to protect our renters. The census data came out last year, and across many of our districts, 40% of our constituents are renters. So we really need to focus on them as well. And one of the biggest things we can do for our renters is passing rent stabilization to make sure that rents don't continue to skyrocket and making people's housing more and more unaffordable. One of the great things about the House is that we work as a team, and so there's a set of bills that are coming through to address multiple points of housing. So Rep. Alvarado has the rent stabilization bill. Representative Berg has a real estate transfer surcharge, and what that does is it provides the Housing Trust Fund, which is a source of funding for low-income housing. It provides a consistent stream of revenue so that we make sure that we have money to support these low-income housing developments for now and into the future. And the way we raise that revenue is on sales of properties over $3 million. So these are large properties, and they can afford to pay, I think it's 0.25% more when those properties are sold. Along with that, we are reducing the tax burden on anyone selling a property between $500,000 and $700,000 so that generally people see a tax reduction. And this real estate excise transfer tax doesn't apply to homes under $500,000 already. So the majority of homeowners will see a tax reduction when they sell their house. When you're selling a very expensive house, those homeowners will pay slightly more to fund affordable housing. And then myself, I'm sponsoring a bill making sure that nonprofits who provide affordable housing can get the preferential tax treatment that many nonprofit housing providers get today. So when someone creates a nonprofit housing complex, they usually fund it with a set of different funding streams, federal, state, and that qualifies them for preferential tax treatment. Two of the sources of funding that aren't included today are cities and counties. And that's usually not a problem because, as I mentioned before, there's often lots of sources of funding, one of which would qualify a project. However, King County and Seattle are large enough jurisdictions that they can solely fund a project. And so if a project is solely funded by county or city money today, they don't qualify for preferential tax status, even though they're doing the same job that these other nonprofit affordable housing projects are. And so we're simply adding those to the list of qualifying sources of funding a nonprofit housing complex. And so that should help us and help our nonprofit housing providers build more affordable housing. There is a large unhoused population, and one of the services that they need is healthcare and mental health services. And Harborview provides a lot of that today. Harborview is a hospital in our district, and over 70% of the people who receive care there are on some kind of assistance. So this really is a safety net for not only our district, but our region, as 40% of the people who go there aren't from King County. Another really interesting thing about Harborview is that it's the only Trauma 1 center in the Northwest, so people will be flown in from Alaska, Montana, Idaho. So this is a huge safety net for our region, and right now they have $1 billion hole in their renovations. So I have some legislation to make sure that we can fully fund their renovations to make sure that we have this safety net not only for community members who are unhoused and need services immediately, but also for our region as well. Climate change is a huge issue, and we're going to need to use a number of means to get out of the climate issues that we're seeing pile up across our state every day. One of the ways that we can do this is by increasing the efficiency of our tires. And what I love about this is that it's a relatively low-cost way and pain-free way for all of our consumers to do this. So the way a tire is built changes how efficient it is and could boost the gas mileage of a car from 5 to 10%. And new tires that come on cars already are regulated at a federal level to meet a certain standard of efficiency. However, the replacement tires that are sold in the state do not fall under that same regulation. So if we set a minimum standard for efficiency for our replacement tires, then all of our cars will get more efficient as our new tires wear out and we buy replacement tires, increasing the gas mileage of our cars. And that's just one small way that we can make sort of our society a little bit more efficient as we move towards a greener, carbon-free economy. we should also be working towards a fossil-free future. And so I have introduced a joint resolution urging our federal delegation to sign on to the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Act. And all that says is, hey, we shouldn't be exploring more fossil fuel pumping. Like, we've already found enough to push us over the 1.5 degree threshold. And so we shouldn't be exploring more fossil fuels. We should be decommissioning them in a rate to not hit 1.5 degrees, and we should be doing that in a just way. So I think this is a very common sense statement that we should urge our federal delegation to sign on to. I'd love people to reach out over Facebook, over email. You can call, leave a message with my LA, or hopefully we can see each other in community. I believe that we have a town hall coming up in February, so I encourage everyone to come out there as well.